Listen, laugh, and learn with Sacha and Ish as they share their experiences, thoughts, and tips to build skills that are not so average and a career that's not so ordinary. This is the Not So Breakfast Show.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, the podcast for leadership and career development. And today we're talking about the principle of give to get. How do we build reciprocity? How do we network? How do we add value to relationships in a way that isn't just about getting something from it, but giving in a way that may come back to us in some way? And I think there's some really good principles we can start to explore. And today, joining me on the podcast as always is Sacha Coburn, who is back from Fiji. And can I say, you are looking refreshed and tanned and vibrant and ready to rock. Let's get it.
Thank you for describing me so accurately. I appreciate that. And for introducing me as Sacha Coburn. We checked into this hotel in Fiji, and it's got a gatehouse, so you drive up in your car. And we say, look, we're guests checking in, just let us in. Like, it's hot. Come on, let us in. He said, what's your name? And Chris said, oh, Sacha, you booked this, didn't you? Sacha Coburn. S-A-C, it can't find us anywhere. And Chris is going, not Cockburn, Coburn, C-O-B-U-R-N. Check that you're spelling it right. S-A-C. Oh, just went on. And we're getting more and more frustrated in the car. And years and years ago, I occasionally would use my married name, Houston. And for some reason, when I booked this hotel, it must be my old loyalty card or something, I was there as Sacha Houston. So after, 10 minutes of getting pretty angry with the guy at the gate, the guard with the gun for not letting us in, we would just be giving him the wrong name. So oh, wow. I thought, I need a holiday in Fiji. No, hang on. I'm on my holiday in Fiji. This is not supposed to be stressing me out.
Oh, man. Well, we're talking about give to get, and I love this concept because I think that there's so many opportunities to add value to a conversation, to a moment, to a time, that why would we hold back from that? Because sometimes the sheer nature of networking is almost like, well, what can I get out of this relationship? And sometimes when we start to maybe analyze what this give to get principle is I think you can get significant success and relationship and network benefits, but you need to kind of go in with the attitude of, I may never get anything out of this, but right now, if I add some value, there is more chance that an opportunity could arise in the future. And even if it doesn't, let's just put some good stuff out in the world. Let's just be someone that actually adds value in situations rather than a parasite that seems to just take all the time. Let's add some benefit.
I think this is such a paradox, and it blows my mind. So the law of reciprocity says, I scratch your back, and whether I intend to create this or not, the law of reciprocity says there is now an obligation on your part to do something for me. So I give a little, you give back to me. That's how it works. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Woohoo! In the sense that we want to be givers and we want to add to the world and not be takers, like you say, the more free you are in your giving, the paradox is the more likely you are to get something back, which means if you know that, you then can't be free in your giving because you know you're more likely to get something back. So I do things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some community service, I'm going to donate my time, and I want nothing back in return. And someone says, thank you so much, because you've done this for us, we'd like to do this for you. And I'm like, no, I was giving without expectation. And they say, I know, that's why we want to do this for you. So I think it's a really interesting idea to unpack, to go, there are some situations where you can be really deliberate and say, I want to invest in this situation for two reasons. One, because it's the right thing to do. And two, because it does create an expectation that at some point in the future I can call in a favour. And we can be explicit about that. And then the second situation is where you go, I'm just going to give because it's the right thing to do, and I'm set free and relaxed about whether anything ever comes back to me.
Yeah.
And you've just got to know which game you're playing. Otherwise, you can end up getting twisty And there's this underlying intention where you're going, well, I did this for you, so now I need you to return the favour. Come on, we had a deal going here. And the other person is like, oh, no, I just thought you were being nice. I didn't realise that I was buying into some unspoken contract. So I think the clarity is really important when you go into these situations.
Yeah. And I think that businesses that have set themselves up now to be adding value all the time, whether you're purchasing from them or not, are really starting to redefine the way that businesses can operate online. Like even now, I think about some of the ones where it's like I sign up for something, but it's in exchange for a whole lot of value before they've even sold me anything. Like they're giving me a whole lot of value. That might be education, it might be information, because information is everywhere. So being generous with your information, generous with your time. I remember back in the old days with personal trainers, we often were reluctant to give out a program for someone because like, well, if you give a program, then they're not going to train with you. And yet trainers that got on board with this principle of set people up for success, because if you don't set them up for success, if you don't give them the program, if you're not generous with your information and knowledge, when the person is ready to purchase in the future, they're never coming back to you, because you never got them started. So at least if you got them started in a way that was generous and really set them up for success, that person, when they're ready to purchase or ready to come back, they're more likely to come back to you.
I think it also fundamentally misunderstands the nature of what personal training, for example, is. So if you think, oh, I've done 4 years at phys ed school, so this program I give you, it's genius. Instead of doing 11 leg extensions on Tuesday, I'm going to get you to do 12. Like, really? I mean, whoa! The strength in a personal training relationship is the value you add from the quality of your interaction in the half an hour or the hour that you're with the person. The world's best programs are now available online for free. So don't kid yourself that whatever you think you are doing in your little office late at night is actually where the value is. And it's the same with any kind of thought leadership or advice or expertise. We used to gatekeep that stuff, and we would say, well, if you want to know what I know about leadership, here is the payment gateway, and then I'm going to tell you. And years ago, Matt Church taught this principle that I just thought was so valuable, and I think it correlates not just for thought leadership or advice givers or consultants. I think in every area of your life was just, it's free online. Oh, you want to read my book? Grab my book, free online. If you want me to come and speak at your conference live, oh, that's expensive. Because then you're going to have the Coburn experience or the, Cheyne experience, whatever that looks like, because it's almost like music now. There's almost no value to the artist in the download stream. You want to listen to my new album? Just download it. It's kind of free. Come to the concert. Holy moly, you're going to pay, and I'm going to knock your socks off. So you are having a difference about where you put the payment barrier. What are you willing to give away and share? And then where do you expect something back in return?
Yeah, and by giving away and sharing and being generous with that value and that information, it establishes trust, because I trust you because I've seen the information that you're giving out. I understand how that works. I've started to apply it. It also establishes expertise, because imagine if they're giving all this information away for free, imagine how good the paid stuff is going to be. Like if I'm learning and benefiting from the podcast that I'm listening to, and then there's something that you can purchase on the side, imagine how much value you're going to be getting in that space. I trust what you're saying because I've got to know you. I've built a relationship. I've established a platform. So we can use that same principle in relationships. We can use that same principle in business. We can use that same principle just in our networking ability. What can I give to this person that will benefit them right now, and establish trust and establish expertise and positioning?
So looking back on your career or your life so far, what are some of those instances where people have been extraordinarily generous with you, or they've given freely of their time or freely of their expertise in a way that you go, I don't think I can ever repay that? And maybe there's some situations where you've been on the receiving end and you have been able to be generous or give something back in return. How's that worked for you so far?
I've found I have benefited and grown from people's investment of time with me. I am definitely a result of people going above and beyond to just invest some knowledge or spend some time to help me level up. And it was at a time in my life where I think I tapped into a network of people that just saw the potential and were willing to just give me that ground level advice and mentoring. And I was very open to it, like I really was. Some of that I did as an exchange of value. So I took some mentoring and exchanged it for some personal training time. Some of that was just them being generous with their time and me not wasting their time. So they knew that I would be taking that information and using it. And then there was just things where opportunities maybe came along and people were kind of generous to put those opportunities my way. And so I think that that has been where I've benefited from a lot of that. And I think that's why I'm quite open to jumping online with someone and having a conversation, having the coffee, giving that back. So the reciprocity part hasn't gone back to that person because, to be honest, they didn't need it. That was their expertise giving down to a level where I'm at. And now when I'm now at that level, well, law of reciprocity in the universe says I should be giving that back. And now it's time to give that back to the next level coming through.
Yeah, I love that idea that this giving to get or getting to give and the circle of life, it's not necessarily with the same person. So if somebody has been able to give something to you, it's like, how do you give a gift to the person that's got everything? Like, what am I going to do? Ring Jackie Mills and say, all that great help that you've given me, I just had some advice I wanted to give to you just as a payback. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that, right? It's not. But it does mean, to your point, that you can find someone else to bestow some of your wisdom on, or some of your time, or the opportunities that have been extended to you. You are then able to extend those to others.
And it could be that you just find ways to be mutually beneficial within relationships. So let's say someone does invest in you and they're a real estate agent and you get some great advice or something, and then you find out that someone's selling their house at some point. That's where you may give back to that person. So again, to your point, it's not necessarily about it coming back to you, but it's this whole, you did help me out in this situation, and here's a way I can start feeding back. And I think that that's where you see the bigger impact of maybe what actually happens, like that ripple effect, right? When you throw the stone in the pond and the ripples go out, you may never see the legacy of that conversation you had with that person. You may never see the end result, but the ripples could be coming out from that for years to come because of that initial investment. And that's a really interesting mindset and position to be playing in.
I have a little alarm bell that goes off in my head when we talk about this idea of giving in order to get the reciprocity, the idea that if I do something for you, maybe I expect, maybe you'll do something back. And that is whenever there's a power imbalance, it's really ugly. So it can sometimes make it hard when you're in a position of power. So let me give you an example. If I'm out with ever any members of my team or people that I've worked with, and I know that because they're younger or what their position in life is, I know it's easier for me to pay for the drinks than it is for them to pay for the drinks. And I love to do that. I love to say, let me get this round, guys. That's the least I can do. I've got to really check in that doesn't create in my mind some kind of expectation that when I say, oh, look, can you guys just come in on Saturday because I need you to come in on Saturday, that I don't actually in the back of my mind go, yeah, but remember how I always buy all the drinks? So this is how it works. I buy the drinks, you come in on like, that's ugly. And it's not that I think that, but I recognize the risk of it. The risk of when you're in a position of authority, it's even harder to give freely without creating an expectation on people that they now owe you one.
Yeah.
And so I just want to be careful about that. Be careful that your intentions are pure.
Yeah. And it's probably also setting boundaries around the time that you invest, because otherwise you might have the conversation with someone that then turns into another conversation, and then there's this dependency that might have come that's no longer serving you. It's frustrating you. And as a result, that spills out as a negative. So it might be that if someone reaches out, you have that initial one, and then you set the expectation from there of, they need to then go into paid coaching or paid mentoring. Who knows? But I don't think it's that we...
First hit free, right?
Yeah, we don't have to be sitting there going, oh, well, now I've set it up. I now have to be giving stuff away for life. It's understanding that there is an exchange. And sometimes even the value exchange of someone paying for something does level up. When you've invested in something, there is a difference in the way that you might even apply that information. The free conversation is great. The one you paid $5,000 to have, you're probably going to be using that information pretty quickly, right?
You might have taken some notes.
You might have taken some notes.
I hate networking events, and I know they're important, but I hate them because it feels like we're all just there with our elevator pitches. Hi, I'm Sacha, and perhaps you hate your job and instead you'd like to invest in a coffee shop. Oh, that's me. And so what are your tips for working a room or making those networking events be useful for you? And useful for the people you're talking to.
Yeah, you're probably talking to the wrong person because I hate that stuff as well.
You don't go.
The two of us, obviously, when we kind of get in that environment, one, I think you do the social stuff way better than me. So I hate the social stuff, and you can do that interaction. But you also don't like the awkwardness of actually what we're doing, and we're just having a shallow conversation, but we actually just want to get something from each other at the end of the day. But it's about your skill set in listening to someone and then using that to maybe establish where you might add value. And that may not be in the moment. That could just be, we had a great conversation, and you just go away and you reflect on that. And then at some point something comes up and you go, you know what? I think Jenny would absolutely love that article I just read. And you just flick it out, or you just put it on your LinkedIn page and you tag a couple of people in it. Like, we're not talking about big stuff here. It could just be little stuff. But being able to navigate information or put it in front of the right person is part of adding value as much as it is the big stuff.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program.
Yeah, two things I love what you've said there. The first, springboarding off that networking, is rather than necessarily thinking about what can I get or even what can I give, just understand what another person needs. What are you looking for? How can I help? They might say, I'm looking for somebody who can help me do some video content. And I can go, well, that's not me, but let me introduce you to my friend Ish. He's amazing at this stuff. So you can actually be a conduit between people. So it's the connection of your networks, not just what can I get from this conversation. It's how can I actually be of value by connecting people together. The second thing is the way that once you've listened and understand what a person might need, every time you read something that's interesting or you have an epiphany about something, the idea of just sharing that with a few other select people, that's a really good way of just giving value out in the world. I just came across this interesting formula the other day for happiness. Just leave it with you guys. Hope it helps. Happy days, Sash. And you're just planting that seed with them, not because it leads back to you, but because it's something that you found helpful. I mean, my dad, as you know, he's a preacher, or was a preacher, and he used to say when he was preaching, look, I don't have all the answers here. I'm kind of one beggar telling the other beggars where there's some food. And I've always liked that approach to advice. It's not lecturing, it's not kind of labouring, it's just like, I found some of this stuff to be true and there's some good stuff over there. I want to let you know about it.
So maybe as an example of where I think this has been done really well, and I'm going to do a little bit of a shout out here to Air New Zealand. During COVID, and I know everyone's experiences will be slightly different, so I'm only speaking really with my experience, but we had flights booked that we couldn't do, and there was credits given and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that was the most important to me was my status for Kuru, because I love the Kuru Club.
Just edit this so it says, one of the things that was important to me was my status. Full stop. What's my status?
Yeah, so status is being, you can have kuru, and then you can have silver, and you can get gold, and you can get gold elite. And I've managed to, through all the traveling that I do and everything, managed to get gold. And because then we went into COVID and we couldn't fly anymore. But one of the things that Air New Zealand is, they keep just rolling over the status. And they kind of said, hey, you haven't been able to travel, not your fault. We're giving you gold again. And it's kept going. And as a result, it kind of built this loyalty. And it probably wasn't costing them anything other than, sending out some communication to roll that over. But then it was interesting because the other day I went in and I've lost my gold finally, but after it's been extended like about 3 years, so I'm like full credit to New Zealand, that's fine. So I dropped down to silver and I went to actually use one of my lounge passes to get in because gold you get it for free and silver you need to pay, and I haven't paid to renew it. And then it let me in and I went, oh, that's interesting. And the lady said, yeah, when you scan, green means go. So what's happened is you've lost your status from gold, but they're still giving you access for a number of months as you decide whether you want to invest in it or not. And I was like, man, that's just another level that they are giving value and establishing value. And of course, I'm going to renew it as soon as I can. And I am going to want to keep flying with that airline because I love it. In fact, I do remember when one of the banks swapped air points from their credit card, I just swapped banks. Because I wanted to keep my air points going with Air New Zealand. So I actually swapped banks. And I remember the conversation with the bank. They go, why would you be doing that for air points? You can do all this other stuff. And I said, well, I like the air points. I like Air New Zealand. And that's how I want to do it. And they lost a customer because of it. So those little value adds that businesses actually put in make a massive difference. So, shout out to you, Air New Zealand.
And understanding people's drivers is a really important part of that. So it's a tragedy how similar you and I are and how we have fixated on these things that frankly do not matter in life. But when I was going through my cancer treatment, I stopped flying. I stopped doing a lot of my speaking work. I wasn't working around the world or even in New Zealand in the same way. And my status dropped from gold to silver. And it was like one of the lowest of the lows. People are like, how can the worst thing of your cancer experience be I said, you don't understand that once you've been to gold, and I'm like gold, I'm a gold elite now. I hate the word elite. I hate it all. But when I see like a businessman who's on the same flight as me and he's kind of got that sort of big swinging dick energy because he's looking like he owns the flight, and I look down at his key tag and he's gold, I just make sure that my bag tag, which says Gold Elite, which has a different ring, I make sure my bag tag kind of washes in front of his face. Like, sit down, there's a new sheriff in town, buddy. But Air New Zealand have worked out that it matters to people. Yeah. Those extras matter. It gives you some stuff. It's not really about the status. It's about how it makes travel easy. Yeah. So the reciprocity thing is, it's easy for them to give that. So whenever you've got the opportunity to give stuff that's easy for you to give, that should be a no-brainer. Yeah. Give that stuff all day, every day. And then challenge yourself to go, what's the hardest stuff I can give? Yeah. Because there's a concept of, for there to be true giving, like an element of pain, I suppose, in that. So I often think about, we do, society, charity does drives where they do like a toy run. Won't someone think of the needy children at Christmas? So let's do a toy run. And so some families will go through and they'll give away their old toys. I'm like, that's bullshit. Go and buy some new toys for the kids who haven't had very many toys, and just keep your old toys for another year and you'll be fine. And I think there's something when we are giving, but it's our second-hand clothes that we're throwing out. Let's not kid ourselves that that's hugely generous. I think that the law of reciprocity will sometimes ask of us, have you actually given anything up in that process of giving? Have you turned away an opportunity for yourself? And while we're on the AirPoints example, when Chris and I flew home from Fiji a couple of days ago, Air New Zealand gives you these short-haul upgrades. Yep. So we were booked in economy, and you could get a short-haul upgrade to go to premium economy. So we'd both applied for it. It was just a free upgrade. We get to the counter, and they say, yes, they're a very busy flight. Very, very busy flight. We have one. seat in premium economy available. One upgrade. And I think maybe because we'd spent 5 days together and we were feeling a bit all loved up, he goes, oh, you take it, babe. And I'm like, no, you take it, babe. And we had this kind of war about who was going to give up the flight. My legs are much shorter. I said, you take it, sweetheart. I'll use mine later in the year. But we were almost falling over each other to be the one who didn't take it. And it's not always the case with us. So it was a nice little moment.
I love that. That's so cool. Recapping through this session, we've really been talking about give to get, this law of reciprocity, and obviously there's a paradox on both sides. You know, you're giving something, you're probably going to get something in return. The universe, whatever you want to call it, it's probably going to come back to you. But setting yourself up with the expectation or going into that add value without any agenda, you know, just do it because it's good to do it. You know, I think if you are really adding value, if you are establishing trust, if you're establishing expertise, yes, it will come back. And even if it doesn't, it will probably come back to somebody else that needs it. Like that ripple effect that you started. Feel good about that. That just putting good stuff out in the universe and the world is just an amazing thing to do. And if you are trying to establish networks that really do benefit from you, then yes, add value, add your expertise, because when you do that, again, it adds positioning, it adds trust, and it really does set you up on a platform of success.
And if you think back about this Festival of 50 I'm having, one of the mottos is don't block the blessing. So as much as we're talking about giving, I think there's a whole lesson that a lot of us need to learn in terms of just being gracious about accepting things as well. So if let's use the example of get a round of drinks. If I get a round of drinks, it's okay to just say thanks. Thanks so much. Rather than do this dance of, oh no, I had one Coke with a little bit of rum in it. Get good at just not blocking the blessing. If someone offers, just accept that and go, yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you. And I can think of a couple of times in our life where people have been really generous with us, both with time, with expertise, with money, frankly. And it would have been easy to say no because it makes us feel awkward or uncomfortable. It's really nice to get to a level of maturity where you say, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I want to allow you to get the benefit of the good feeling you're going to get from giving by being the receivee. Yes, I do accept that. Thank you.
Have we talked about the show The Traitors?
No.
Okay, so we stumbled on this show. It's a reality TV show. It's somewhere between Survivor and Cluedo. And when we stumbled on this show, it was halfway through, and we laughed, what's this? And we were on, John and I away for our 25th wedding anniversary just on Waiheke for a couple of nights. And
congrats!
Thank you. Woo-hoo. And so, we're sitting there, we're just watching a bit of telly, and the show came on. We said, oh, yeah, let's watch this. We got hooked. I was like, oh my goodness, let's watch another one. So we looked it up and found it was on demand on TV3. So then we watched another one. So this is the UK Traders. So basically the premise for the show is a whole lot of people come in. Nobody knows whether they're going to be what they call a trader or a faithful. So faithfuls are there to try to figure out who the traders are. And the traders every night elect to murder someone in the game, effectively. So they get murdered and they have to leave immediately. And then the faithfuls have to figure out who it is. So every day there's someone that gets murdered, and every day there's someone that gets accused and has to leave the game. So you could accuse someone, they get up there and go, actually, I'm a faithful, they have to leave the game. And the game ends basically when all the faithfuls decide there's no more traders around the table. They say we end the game. But if there is a trader at the table, they get all the money and it's not split. It is so compelling because you know who the traders are.
And the traders don't know who each other is, right?
No, they know. So the way that it's set up at the beginning is
all the traders know each other.
All the traitors know each other. But for the very first time they meet, they put on these hoods and they go into this room and then they reveal, and there's 3 of them. And they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So that's when they meet each other for the first time and then plan the first murder. And all they're trying to do is just cast dispersions on who might be. It's amazing.
There's a New Zealand version of it too.
Yeah, we've started watching that too. It's really good. Actually, and that one is being filmed at the location we have run leadership camp, the one in Warkworth.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so
cool.
It's been quite funny. Yeah, it's been pretty good. So if you're looking for a weird little wee show, definitely start with the UK one first. It's amazing, and then you can work into the New Zealand one.
Thank you, Ash, and I am faithful. I would be rubbish at that stuff. I'm so transparent. I can't play poker very well. I'm like, yeah.